Hey, welcome to another episode of the Finding Purpose Livecast. And today we are here with Michilah Grimes, who is the Director of Corporate and Community Impact at Lippert. And I know that name is very familiar to many of you who've watched all of these episodes over the last couple of years because we can't get enough of Lippert. Last week we had Dr. Amber Selking on, their VP of Leadership and Culture. And in the past, of course, we've had Jason Lippert, their CEO. But today we get to talk about where the impact and the rubber meets the road, and what their amazing team is doing is using business as a force for good. And so, Michilah, thank you so much for taking time out of your guys' crazy busy schedule at Lippert to spend some time with us today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having us and allowing us the platform to share all of the things that Lippert has going on.
Well, it's amazing. It's easy to do because you guys are such a tremendous example of what good looks like. In my opinion, you take all excuses away. You know, Amber said this last week, right? Publicly traded, almost $3 billion company, 12,000 employees, global, manufacturing all over the world. So when it comes to, business as a force for good and truly making an impact internally, corporately with your people, and externally in the communities that you serve, we often have excuses, right? We make excuses about time or being understaffed or resources. And for Lippert, excuses have no place, right? You guys continue to say, forget the excuses, full steam ahead. We are going to continue to focus on the difference we get to make every day.
That's very true. We've had great leadership over the years, and their goal and mission is to help all of our team members find their own purpose outside of work, because we owe it, right, to our kids, to our future generations. Even if you don't have kids, your nieces, nephews, grandkids, whatever that might be, we owe it to them to, have this world be in a better place than when we arrived in it or when we leave it. And so it's a mission of our executive team to use business as a force for good in the communities where we live, work, and play.
So good. So good. And so, talk to us about your specific journey and your role in that equation. Because obviously, you're very passionate about it. You're very aligned with the mission of helping every individual at Lippert find their purpose and helping them contribute to something greater themselves and make that difference that you just said is so important. How did you get there? Talk to us about kind of your journey to where you're at now.
Yeah, so it's been 10 years ago, I think 11 years ago, I started working at the Boys and Girls Club. I went to college at Fresno State in California, and swore I'd never be back to the Midwest, but there's something about the Midwest that just draws you back as you get older. So college in California was a great experience, but my family and home and heart is here in the Midwest. And graduated with a philosophy pre-law degree, thought I wanted to do law school. Was not the case for me, and started working at the Boys and Girls Club and just fell in love with the idea of getting to help others. I grew up with a single parent home, and it was a struggle, right? With so many kids in today's society, it's a struggle growing up and making sure they have the resources or whatnot to be successful. And I fell in love with the Boys and Girls Club because I felt like they're doing so much for kids who need it most, and kids that, maybe they do have both parents at home, but their parents are both working late. So it's a safe place for them to be and explore and learn. And that's where I met Jason Lippert. He was the board president at the time, and I helped him run an event that started off as a $300,000 event. And last year we raised, even during the pandemic, $1.8 million for our local Boys and Girls Club. So fell in love with it, fell in love with the idea of serving others and, sharing the goodness that a nonprofit was doing in our community with other corporations, other individuals, and how can we get them involved and engaged. And I was pregnant with my daughter at the time, 5 years later, and I did not want to work all the special events. It's a lot of nights and weekends. So Jason offered me a position within Lippert. I joke with him a lot because he really had no idea in the moment what I was going to be doing, but I know he didn't want to have to train anyone else to run the big special event that we co-chair together. So he kind of brought me on at Lippert to help with that. Was the first priority. And then it just, ballooned from that. Being able to start the charitable giving donation program. They gave a lot and they wanted to give back to the community, but how can we make it more purposeful around what it is that we believe is most important for our community, and what's our top 4 pillars that we want to be supportive of throughout the communities that we live, work, and play in. So it's been an awesome journey. I didn't have a lot of training for it. It's something that I kind of fell into because of my passion, and I couldn't imagine not being able to do this every day.
So good. So good. We constantly joke about, and it's not a joke really, but we're always constantly saying, how that there's something in the water at Lippert, because every time we hear, whether you just said it or Amber said it or Jason said it, this concept of making this difference in the communities where you live, work, and play. And I love that work is in the middle of that. It's not first, right? It wasn't where we work, live, and play. It's where we live, work, and play, because you're always prioritizing lives over the work. And that truly is the focal point. And we've shared before that, everything that you guys do is such a great example of what good looks like. And I didn't even know that stat that you just shared coming into this episode about how you raised, went from 300 to what was it, 1.8 million in the middle of the pandemic. And so again, just continuing to take excuses away, right? The RV industry is growing like crazy. You guys are having pretty much the best year that you've ever seen. You have, last time I checked, over 800 some positions available at Lippert. One, because it's just you need to support the growth, but I'm just surprised with how amazing an organization is that people aren't just like banging in the doors to get in. That there's not a waiting list. But you have all of these demands at you for time, not to mention the pressures of all of the other pandemic situations, right? So between, us all having to walk through the pandemic, the restrictions of that, dealing with the emotional and physical, mental impacts of loss. We've all been affected by it. We've all lost people that we love and know and care about it, and maybe have gotten sick ourselves and impacted that. And so there's just been a lot you've been faced with between growth, understaffed, and having all of these other things. And yet you blew away your fundraising goal for the year and just continue to make a greater difference year after year than you did before. How are you doing it?
It is the heart of this community. I say it time and time again. The RV industry, boating industry, Elkhart County, St. Joe County in general, hearts like no others. And maybe that's what drew me back to this area, but they truly give and continue to give. And, there are so many people that I work with at Lippert that they've always wanted to serve, but they don't know where to start. It's hard. You're working all day, especially right now, sometimes 7 days a week. You are exhausted because you're working on the line, or you're, drawing designs for new product development, whatever it may be. Serving and getting involved in the community sounds like a great idea. If you've never done it before, it's extremely overwhelming to know where to even start. And the demands of life. So you have work, then you go home. If you have a family that you have to run to this sporting event or make sure they have dinner, it's hard. And so people get lost in all of the different everyday responsibilities. And so what we have done at Lippert and what we found is, if we provide them with opportunities and ways to give back and make it a fun team building experience where they get to serve alongside of their general manager or their vice president, or Jason. I mean, he is just as human as the rest of us, being our CEO, and he is the first person to be out there serving, raking leaves, and he can rake leaves around anyone. I've never seen someone rake leaves as quickly as he does, but it just provides that same playing field for everyone. Not everyone can afford to go to an event that costs $100 a plate, but everyone can afford to give time if they make it a priority. And yes, you have to choose, right? I mean, there are choices every day. You have to choose to make that hour. And I always joke with our team members, or not joke, but tell them the reality is, we have 4 kids. My husband works at Lippert as well. I oversee this initiative. And there are days when I'm in my office that I'm like, oh my goodness, my husband only can make 4 different meals. Like, I've been at volunteer events all week this week. They're probably going to get grilled cheese sandwiches again tonight. I should really just go home and make sure they eat a healthy dinner. But when you get there, you know that's exactly where you're supposed to be. And as a volunteer, we always leave there feeling better and maybe getting more out of it personally than the nonprofit did. And it's just created this movement, I guess I like to call it, in our area where we have 45 other businesses that have signed up and joined, created goals for their companies, their organizations, because they too have agreed that, hey, we're a business. These communities give us so much that we need to use our business as a platform to create something good. We need to create purpose for these team members. If they don't know what their purpose is outside of work, how do we help them find that purpose? Because no one goes to a volunteer event and leaves and says, I wish I wouldn't have done that. That was terrible. So it's just, I like to share this moment, but last July, after everything was shut down for so long, and we laid off a big chunk of our team members, of our workforce, because there was no production. And when they came back, and we came back stronger than ever, in July was our first big company-wide volunteer event. And we had it at one of our plants, and we had over 500 people throughout the week, only 100 people a night, because that was where we were at with limitations wise. And we packed 50,000 items for 6 different nonprofits. And in my career, that was probably the best event that I have been through, been a part of, been able to witness, because people were just happy to be back. They were happy to be serving alongside one another and know that they get to go to work. They're working 7 days a week, but they're back. They get to be at work. And not only do they get to be at work, but they get to serve and help someone that might not be back at work. And it's just overwhelming. I can't describe the feelings, but I just hope that everyone who's listening and that watches this podcast knows that it might be hard to start. You might think it's hard to start, but it's really not. And just start with one volunteer opportunity a month. What can we do as team members to get our leadership teams bought into it? And start with one volunteer opportunity a month. And it will catch on. People will understand and they'll get excited about it. And before long, they'll be coming up with their own volunteer opportunities that they want you to approve and they want to run with. And that's what's made it successful at Lippert. Our leaders, our team members, every part of the business has gotten a hold of this and gotten a part of the spirit. And not everyone gets involved, right? Whatever season of life, they might not want to volunteer at this moment in time, but the people who have, they're passionate and they're loyal and they want to get out and serve.
So good. One of my favorite quotes of all time is that you find your purpose when you lose yourself in the service of others. Mm-hmm. And you're right. I can't think of any time, any trip, any project that I've ever been a part of where I gave time that maybe I told myself I did not have to go and serve others. And especially when it's part of a team, especially when you're doing it in service with others, where I didn't walk away from that and say, that is exactly where I needed to be in that exact time, and felt fulfilled at a greater level than I did going into it. And you said something else, a lot of times you go to serve and then you don't realize that you might be there to bless others, but then you ultimately get blessed in the process coming out of that. I remember being on a mission trip in Guatemala in, I think it was 2013, 14-ish. The years are all blending. And we went down there to go build a schoolhouse. And, here was this amazing community. And I thought we're going to go there and bless them and do all of this stuff. And in the process of digging this foundation for the schoolhouse, I can't get the image of this girl. Her name was Kimberly. She's 12 years old at the time. And she just wanted to come and help bend rebar with us and work alongside us. And she had such joy in her. I experienced a level of joy in her they had never seen in my life. And I remember coming back from that trip. It's a much longer story, but I remember coming back and almost being, discouraged and depressed coming back to America, because I was like, I could search high and low in this country and not find the level of joy that I just found in Guatemala. I went there to serve them, bless them, and they changed me and blessed me. And one of the things that I think I love about this live cast and this work is finding stories like yours, where it's uncommon to find a level of joy and fulfillment and purpose in action in a way that doesn't make sense to the busy world, because it doesn't, right? It doesn't make sense. You guys can't afford to give this time. It doesn't make sense to have your 4 kids eat grilled cheese 4 nights a week. It doesn't make sense to, it challenges the American status quo of how we operate, but the impact that you are making is immeasurable and inexplicable.
Yeah. And I mean, our team members, what I love is all of our larger locations, because we have some plants that have 900 people and we have some plants that have 10 people. So it just depends what they're making. But so all of our larger plants have set up these committees for volunteering. So we can hear from all levels within that different division of ideas and what they want to see. And I sat in on one of those a couple of weeks ago, and I'll never forget it because it was a single mom, and she shared that she wanted to be on the committee because she loves to serve, but so many of our opportunities are after work in the evening. So her goal is to bring more opportunities into the plant during lunch or right after work, so she can leave her kids maybe at the Boys and Girls Club or at an after school program, but then still be home in time to get them dinner. Prior to COVID, the other thing that is amazing, and we cannot wait to get back to, our team members are chomping at the bit for this to be able to happen, but at all of our company-wide events, families were invited and they participated. So now you have your kids serving alongside of you and showing them that it's important to give back to your community. We're teaching the next generation how important it is to serve and what that feeling is like to serve and to give back to others. Because, I mean, in this community, in this country, we're very blessed. And so in order to show our children the importance of serving, that's only going to help the world continue to be a better place for their children and their future grandkids. So it's a humbling experience. We're actually having our volunteer week next week. We are planning it with National Volunteer Week. So every day there'll be something going on. We are having a big pack out event where we're packing 75,000 items at a location next week with a lot of different team members involved. And they're working 7 days a week, some 6 days a week, but they're signing up, RSVPing, and want to get involved. So it tells me that it's something that our team members believe in and they want to be a part of. And it's the best way to team build. All the other opportunities and events are great. It's great to go rope climbing and it's great to go to a baseball game. And I'm definitely not saying don't do that, because team members definitely appreciate that as well. But to serve alongside your team and get to know them and hear stories that you wouldn't hear while you're at work, or maybe you wouldn't hear when you're at that ball game or out to dinner, it's awesome. You connect with them in such a different way.
So great. So great. The concept of involving family in the service project is so critical. And one of the things that I love, Jason shared this, is that, while obviously you guys are known for your impact in the RV industry, is you're more focused on who it is you're helping your workers become at home, more so than they are at work. You're more focused on creating better spouses and better parents than you are better workers, hence the live first, then work, then play. And what a great way to incorporate the family unit into the impact that you get to make at work every day as a collective purpose. And, I want to address, we're 20 minutes in, we got 10 minutes left. And there's really 3 camps listening to this right now. You have one camp that are like, oh my gosh, this is great. I want to work at a company like Lippert. I wish my company did that, but they don't have programs like that, so I can't. So I want to address those, like where can they start? And then the second camp that's listening to this is, yep, we get it. This is all great. This is fantastic, but we just don't have time. We're too busy. We're understaffed. We're socially distanced, whatever the excuses might be. And if and when things get back, we'll go ahead and make that difference then. And then there's the third, which probably aren't listening anymore. And that's like, this is all fluff, right? Community impact and CSR and all that good stuff is just good business sense. And those are the wrong reasons to do it. So you don't need to address those because those people probably aren't listening anymore.
But
so
can I address that?
I want you to,
Okay.
but I want you to address all three because I was waiting for that. So start anywhere you want, but those are the three camps, right? Where do I start if my company doesn't have programs like this? If our company does want to do this stuff, but we have these barriers, these excuses, how do we overcome them in this time? And then, yes, please address the third camp. That's like, this is all fluff and do goodness. That's good for business.
So I'll address the third one first because our own team members felt that in the beginning. Like when we first started this initiative, there were a lot of questions. Is Lippert doing this for a marketing push? Are they doing it for the right reasons? And it took a good year for people to understand, why do I need to log my hours? That what I'm doing because we have all of our team members log their hours. So at the end of the year, we try to reach this 100,000 hour goal. And every year we've been successful at it. Last year we did fall short because of COVID, but still logged 64,000 hours, I think, even during the pandemic. So that's amazing. But people, they need to understand and be a part of it, and leadership has to be bought into it. And after about a year of people understanding and hearing the messages from Jason or our team and just understanding, okay, this isn't all for fluff. We're really making a difference. And having those hours logged and seeing that other companies were getting interested. And now we're not just having impact with our own team members or our own Elkhart County. We're having impact all over the world. And we're having impact now with 45 other businesses that have decided to start something because they saw what Lippert was doing. They saw what our team members were doing. And it's not about me. It's not about Jason. It's not about the person that's questioning whether or not they are going to log those hours. It is about the community and the greater good and the movement that is started because of all the things that our team members chose to say, we are going to do this. We believe in it and our communities are better for it. And so I completely understand where people might say like, oh, it is fluff, or, do people really buy into that one person can make a difference? You can. One person can make a difference and you can make a huge difference. So I completely understand that concept, but I would encourage people to look past that and realize that at the end of the day, you have an opportunity to give back to the community in a big way and use your business to help with that. And there's no greater gift than giving our time and letting team members get involved and find their passions and the impact that they can have when they do that. The first one that you brought up was about, or the second one, the time, the excuses. So I'm not going to lie, it has not been easy over the past, 9 months or whatever, since we've gotten back from COVID. How do we, with team members working 7 days a week and us being short so many team members, how do we keep the momentum going? And it is through people finding their own passion. So them coming to us with suggestions on what they can do or what they want to do, and how do we help support that? I think that's the other biggest piece of the puzzle with Lippert. All of our charitable donations are based on volunteering by a person being passionately involved by way of a board or committee. So we want to help support our team members and the nonprofits that they're passionate about. It's not just about what I'm passionate about or what Jason's passionate about. Yes, we're going to support those too. But at the end of the day, we want to support that nonprofit event that our team members spending hours at board meetings or committee meetings for. So it's really just engaging the team members to help figure out ideas, keeping them safe with COVID. So what ideas can we do outside? And when we first started this initiative, a lot of it, we had a big park cleanup day with all of our different plants. They invited their families and we had some fun. We brought some games, we had a cookout. So we got them started by making it a little bit of a employee appreciation day. So we cleaned up in the morning, and then the GMs would grill burgers on the grill or hot dogs. And so fun, again, having your leaders serve you and your family's lunch. So I think while it is challenging in this time, there are ways to keep the momentum going or to start the momentum. You just have to be willing to find those people that are passionate about it. And I can promise you, if you send out a survey and ask your team members, there are some team members out there that are so passionate about this that to them, if you task them with this, they wouldn't think it's work. They would think that they get to be a part of something bigger, and they would happily put in a little bit of extra time throughout the week to try to figure out how to make this program work. And we actually offer to help other companies get started. That's one of the things that I love about Lippert too, is we don't want to keep this just for ourselves. If our biggest competitor asked to join us tomorrow in this initiative, we would welcome them with open arms. What volunteer event can we work alongside of you and work with you? Because at the end of the day, again, it's not about us, it's about the community. And then I think the first one, what was the first one again?
So the first one is for the people that are saying, well, my company doesn't think this way. They don't have this mindset. Everything that you're saying is speaking to me. I want to make a difference. I want to be a part of this, but it just doesn't exist at my company. What can I do?
For that, that is going to be a little bit of a challenge, because I do believe with the companies that we've worked with, your leadership teams do have to be involved to start from a big company level. But that doesn't mean that you can't get a group of your coworkers, your team members to go out and start volunteering. And then, if you do it regularly enough and share the success stories and the meaning behind it with your leaders, I cannot imagine them not wanting to get involved, because again, it's creating those organic relationships in a way that people just don't get anymore, right? We're so busy. We are so busy. How many times do you get a text or an email versus a phone call? Like, how many times do you really answer a phone call anymore, let alone face to face? And it's hard to make time for your friends, sometimes your family, besides your immediate family in today's society. So doing those volunteer events and taking the time, again, it could just take one person to say, hey, my kids, we have 10 kids on our team that play for this softball league, and they're asking for the bleachers or benches or whatever to be painted. How awesome would those team members feel knowing that their kids get to benefit from that volunteer opportunity? So get a group together and go clean up the ballpark. Not only are you showing the community that you care about the community, but you're also showing your team members, hey, we care about what your kids and what your families are involved in when you're not at work. And we thought this would be a great way to serve you.
So good. So good. It does really start with each person thinking about the difference that they can make on an individual level. And that has been consistent throughout this entire conversation. It started with your journey of your story. What is the difference that you can make and what you're passionate about, and how that's led to really developing your role at Lippert, that wasn't there before. And then the second question that I asked you about, what about the excuses and all of that? And you just talked about, have your team foster a conversation of at least the conversation, get your team members engaged in what difference can we be making. I've said 1,000 times that circumstances don't define us, choices do. So make the choice to have your team be a bunch of different makers, to use business as a force for good, and start fostering the conversation so that they bring ideas to the table that you can come together and be a part of. And then that last piece that you just said, which is, what? It starts with you. It starts with what is it that you're passionate about that you can make a difference in. Get some team members to do some work with you. Go and serve others. Go and make a difference in the world, and then share that with others and get the company involved and maybe change the mindset from the inside out. So good. I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing, the impact that you're making, for your incredible story. And as we wrap up our time here today, I want to ask you one final personal question to leave with those that are listening today. And that's this. You personally have a lot on your plate, right? You have this role, this mission that you're championing at the office. You just talked about how it's hard to sometimes make time for families and friends. You have 4 children that you are parenting and leading and shepherding through, out of this pandemic. You have your husband, you have all of these responsibilities as a spouse, as a mother, as a leader of a, fortune or massive, global billion-dollar company, and all these employees in this incredibly noble mission. How do you, given all of this today, find the strength to continue to focus on your purpose and move forward every day?
That is a question I think about often, obviously being a working mom, right? And that battle of, whether you should be at home or at work. And honestly, it's my kids. They are the future. And I feel like not only do I have the responsibility to be their mom at home and care for them, look out for them, but the world can be a scary place. And I want it to be better. And I want it to be better for them. I want it to be better for their future kids. And so that's what keeps me going. That's why I come into work every day, and I'm so thankful that Lippert has given me this opportunity, and all of our team members the opportunity to find something that they're passionate about and give back to the community. But I would have to say it is my kids, and I want them to see the hard work that goes into taking care of others and to serving others, and that as a human being is something we should do, and be thankful that we have the opportunity to do it, that we have the ability to do it.
So good. Kyla, thank you so much for just continuing to champion such great work, such purposeful work, for taking excuses away, for being an example of what good truly looks like, for changing the future and being a life changer and a difference maker for your kids, for the next generation, and an example for us all. I'm very, very grateful for your time together on this live cast today, and for the difference that you and your team are making every day at Lippert.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And for those of you listening today, again, we're here with Michilah Grimes, the Director of Corporate and Culture Community Impact at Lippert. And again, we encourage you, check out some of the amazing work that Lippert is doing. You too can make a difference, regardless of the challenges, the circumstances that you've been dealt with in this very tough year. There is something that you can do today to serve others and make a difference that wouldn't otherwise happen if you weren't here. So we'll see you next time on the Finding Purpose Livecast.